So is this person a boy or a girl? Does it matter? Do boys age differently than girls? I know. Okay. There is truth to that. Girls do tend to be far more mature than boys. I mean, quite frankly, Miss McShann is a perfect example. Who is far more mature, me or her? I ain't gonna lie. I will say this about almost 10 years ago. One of my friends on my birthday posted a thing to my page that I've loved, and I actually repost like every year now. Says that growing old is mandatory, growing up is optional. Words I live by.
That's genius.
It is genius. Okay, so here's one thing that we saw. Looking at the patterns, we saw the second column is always 2 larger than the first column. Andrew?
The left column is always 2 fewer.
Good, I like that. So the first column is always 2 fewer. Or 2 smaller, since we used larger. Okay? And the other patterns, T? Good. They're each going up by 1. Each entry goes up plus 1. So good. I like that you guys are looking at these tables and really looking at all of the different relationships. I especially like that Andrew focused and said, well, if I'm going plus 2 this way, if I go this way, I'm subtracting 2. What do we call those? What are addition and subtraction? How are they related? Does anybody know the mathematical term for their relationship? We think of them as opposites, but what's the mathematical term for it? Because we now know mathematically opposites means like 8 and minus 8 when we're talking about integers, right? So it's not opposites. Yes?
Can I reserve number C?
Sure. You have permission for letter C.
You said number C. So.
Number C.
Solo is special. That's a whole other different kind of special, Porter.
Hey, that's kind of me. See, bullies kids.
Porter, you're...
Did I say it was bad?
Am I special, Miss?
I mean, think of who the first special was. We're talking about solo.
I thought you were
Oh, again, whole different type of special. So these are what we call inverse operations. Okay? So, part B, on the day I turned 8, how old was my sister? Lily? 10? How do you know? Here's solos. I can hardly wait to hear this.
The way I got that one is because I added 8 plus 2.
Good.
Why did you want to reserve that?
Because he was showing he understood that relationship between the columns. On the day I turned 16, how old was my sister? Sean?
18.
How do you know? Yeah.
Because I added 2 to 16. I thought really hard at the answer came.
Nice.
Really hard.
So do we need a table? Here's the bottom line, guys. Once we understand the relationship, do I have to extend that table to make sure it has all the entries to be able to figure out the answer? No. Good. This is the concept we are starting today's lesson with. That tables are awesome. They do a great job of showing information. But once I use the table to understand the relationship, I don't necessarily need the table to find the answers. Okay? So, go ahead and turn the page. Go to page 85. Everybody on page 85? Okay. Noah and Carter are collecting box tops for their schools. They each bring in 1 box top per day since the first day of school. However, Carter had a head start because his aunt sent him 15 box tops before school started. Noah's grandma saved 10 box tops, and Noah added those on his first day. Fill in the missing values that indicate the total number of box tops each boy brought to school. So on our first day, we now know that Noah had 11 and Carter had 16. So my second entry is going to be 22 and I didn't hear anybody else. 32. Okay? What's wrong, Lily? Right?
That's not right. Yeah.
What do you mean that's not right? I put it up there. It's got to be right.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Caden?
It's not right because they each bring in 1 each school day. So it wouldn't be 22 and 12 and...
Oh. So I don't just double it every time?
No, of course you don't. You add 1 because it said they each bring 1 in every day.
Oh, that makes sense.
That notion that you have to double it.
Well, this is like the running total of how much they donated for the year. So he's done 16, he's done 17, right?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, man, I thought Devin was about to like lose it there. His blood pressure was getting really high. I know. So my third entry then would be
13 and 18.
13 and 18.
14
Okay.
14 and 122.
14, 19.
15 and 20.
And 15, 20.
That sounds like military time. Oh, thank you.
Is everybody okay? So now we're going to look at this a little bit differently. We're going to start using our relationships. Let D be the number of days since the new school year began. On day D of school, how many box tops will Noah have brought to school?
We have no idea because
Yeah, we do.
D is. Oh wait. The number.
So I had her hand up first. D plus 11. Good. D plus 11. Is everybody good on that?
Yep. Yep. But it's wrong.
Why?
Because I want it.
Why would you want it to be wrong? If I took the time to write it on the board, so you guys write it in your module, why would you want it to be wrong, Solo? That just sounds mean.
I want to be on solo. I want to be the solo. I want to be wrong.
You're mean for wanting something.
Well, since these two want it to be wrong, let's check something.
That is wrong.
So now we're saying D plus 11. So on day 1, we put 1 in for D. 1 plus 11 is 11.
The coefficient goes for last. First to last.
Oh, so it needs to be 11 plus D.
Yeah. No, that's still wrong. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Even if you're right.
D isn't the amount of box tops. D is the number of days.
Oh, good point.
You're acting like it's the number of box tops. And so you really can't have no idea. But
You do have an idea. Hold on, guys. Guys, bring it back down. Bring it back down. Listen. So one quick way to check it is put in the numbers from the table. So if I put in 1 for my D, 1 plus 11 is 11. Yes?
No, it's not 11.
no.
What?
You said 1 plus 11 is 11.
No, I didn't say it. You said it with your expression.
Yeah. So that is wrong. Exactly.
Oh, so Solo got his wish?
It was wrong. Yes.
Sean?
It would be
D plus 10. Guys, listen. Listen up. Y'all are getting a little out of hand today. Sean, please explain.
D plus 10 because Noah started with 10 and then he brought 1 every day starting on the first day of school. So if he has 1 for every day of the school, you add that to the starting 10 he already has.
Good. Does that make sense? Now again, the best way to make sure you did it right is double check. Put in, substitute for D. 1 plus 10 is 11. 2 plus 10 is 12. Does it work?
Yes.
Yes. Now, why did, was it Who said I needed to switch it and make it as 11 plus D?
Solo.
Why solo?
Because the coefficient goes first.
Do we have a coefficient in addition?
No.
No.
Is it a community property?
Community property of addition. I could have done it either way, but they started us with D. That's our first column, so normally I would do the D plus 10.
But
So
I would have been right if this was a multiplication.
if it was multiplication, you would have been absolutely correct, as many of you are about to see on your quizzes. Okay, on day D of school, how many box tops will Carter have brought to school? Now that we've got some subtraction, hopefully this will be a little easier. What do you think, Alice?
Whatever you think.
So on day D, how many will Noah have brought? Or Carter, I mean. We already did Noah.
You mean
I'm sorry? So what would my expression be? D plus 15? Is everybody okay with that one?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
That was a.
Everybody good on that?
No. Yes.
Let's check it. So for Carter, now we're going to the second one. Day 1, 1 plus 15 is 16.
Yep.
2 plus 15 is 17.
Yep.
Is it hard to do that check?
No.
Is it good to make sure that you're right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. So on day 10 of school, how many box tops will Noah have brought?
32. Wait, no, not 30.
Sean,
20.
how did you get that?
I added the starting 10 he had to the 10 days of school because he brought one every day.
Good. Day 10, how many box tops will Carter have brought? David? You had your hand up. How many will Carter have brought? 40. Good job.
I don't think that's quite right.
It's not?
It's not
No.
right.
Why not?
No.
Oh, Bella's got a hand up.
There you go, push.
Should be 25, not 40. This is why we have pencils, so we can erase. Ooh. As often as I don't have a filter, that was a good time.
He said it for you.
Oh, good. Oh, that math is correct. Yours is wrong, David. Okay. Good. We're continuing on page 84, right? So on this one, yeah, there's something in the way they progress that Miss Carol want to like that progression better.
Alright, so we're going to page 84.
You don't hear it every day.
Is Carolina the person who wrote this?
No, this is actually straight out of the book.
Wait, so who is Carolina?
Listen up, guys. So what if you don't know how old I am? Use a variable for my age. Let y equal my age in years. Can you develop an expression to describe how old my sister is? So in other words, we're saying my age is some variable y. How do I figure out how old my sister is? David?
Y plus
Does everybody agree with that? So we can add that to the last row.
I know.
Make sense? Okay? Let's look at example 2. How old was I when my sister was 6 years old? You get that right off the table, right? How old was I when my sister was 15 years old?
13.
How did you get that?
Subtract 2 from both quantities.
Okay? So I just subtract 2 from my sister's age. I'm sorry? Look at the table in example 2. If you know my sister's age, can you determine my age?
Yes.
Yes. So if I use a variable g for my sister's age in years, what expression would describe my age in years? So in other words, I make this the column G. Sean? G minus 2. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? So what do you notice about the difference in that last set of expressions? When I went from here to there, I did what? No. When I went from my age to my sister's age, what did I do? When I went from my sister's age to my age, what did I do? What do you call those? Thank you. Journey actually looked back at her notes and wrote down what I told you guys to write down earlier. Inverse operations. So, I'll give you guys 30 seconds. Calculate. What's my age when my sister was 22, 23, 24?
No. Hey.
Do what?
What am I doing? He's too younger.
I don't understand what you're talking about, Miss McShann. I probably should have paused it. Okay, what answers did we get?
20.
David. David?
20, 21, 22.
Does everybody agree? I agree as well.
Simple math. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Okay, here's where we get to really have some fun.
Yay!
We'll get to see how much attention Isaiah has paid up to this point. We'll see. Each week, the primary school recycles 200 pounds of paper. The intermediate school also recycles the same amount that had another 300 pounds left over from summer school. The intermediate school custodian added the extra 300 pounds to the first recycle week. Number the weeks, record the amount of paper recycled by both schools. So I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes to go ahead and knock this out. Actually, we'll just take that right up to lunch break here. Okay, let's go ahead and fill it in. Listen up, guys. So we're going to do the first 5 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my first entry for the primary school was?
200 rolls of whatever.
Primary school is 500.
No, primary school is 200 pounds of paper.
Okay, 200 then. Intermediate was?
200, 500.
Yeah.
200.
I had
200.
Everybody good on this?
300.
No, it's 300.
Why was it 300? Oh, guys, one at a time. Hold on. Stop. One at a time. Okay, then why 300?
Because in the text it says intermediate school also recycles the same amount.
Same amount.
Oh, it is 500.
Okay. Andrew?
It's 200
Yeah.
the same amount, and it's just 300 pounds left over. Meaning there must have been extra.
That it did in the first week. So it said it put that extra 300 in the first week.
They threw up 300 with the normal 200. So how do you throw up 300?
Recycled. She meant recycled. Okay, so my second entry is, what's my second entry?
400 and 700.
Not 400 and 1,000? We doubled 200, we doubled 500.
No, you add 200. You add 200.
Okay, so I only add 200. So my third entry is,
600 and 900.
okay, my fourth entry,
800 and 1,000.
my fifth entry,
1,800.
and we go to part B. If the trend continues, what will be the total amount collected for each school in week 10? So primary is
2,000.
2,000. Interesting. And intermediate is?
Oh wait, no, it won't be 2,000. It'll be 2,300.
No. Primary is 2,000. Intermediate is 2,300.
2,300?
No, for intermediate, yeah.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, I'm so confused right now.
Well, that's the first.
You good? So we doubled 1,000, we got 2,000. We doubled 1,300, we got 2,300.
No.
When you double
No.
1,500, it's all 2,300.
Because, so the 300 is just extra, so you could add that later. So if you added that after you got the stuff for week 10 for the intermediate school, which is 2,000, you just add the 300.
It's just saying don't double it.
You don't double it.
Why not?
Because they didn't get another 300 extra contributions.
Great. She nailed it. So the thing is that 300 was only a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So I doubled the 2,000, yeah, but I don't double that extra 300 because that was a one-time thing. So what would our relationship look like if I were to put a variable in this and say, for example, P is pounds of paper. I'm going to have two different ones, right? What would it look like for the primary school? What would be that relationship? In terms of P, how would I find how much they gave?
P plus 300.
P plus 300.
For the primary school?
Wait,
P plus 200.
and we're taking the primary and finding the intermediate.
No.
Oh.
If I'm just giving you the day of the week, number of weeks, then how would I find out how many pounds they did?
P plus 200.
Actually, I need to redefine my variable because we actually need to do this in terms of the number of weeks.
Yeah, because
So W equals number of weeks. That's probably why I was messing you guys up so much. So let's try that again. So I'm doing it in terms of the number of weeks. How do I get from the number of weeks to the total amount of paper recycled? Sean?
Multiply it by 200.
So it would be, how would I write it?
2, wait,
no,
200,
that's not right.
and then W.
200W? Just like that?
Nope, that's not correct.
What's wrong with it, Devin?
Because it's not multiplication.
It's not?
No, because you're not, like we already previously stated, you're not doubling it. And in that case, that's just doubling it a lot of times.
Really? Well, let's try it. So W is 1. 200 times 1 is? 200 times 2 is? 200 times 3 is? That doesn't work?
Sean, you can stop gloating.
I'm not. I'm confused.
So did it work?
You gloat, Devin.
Yeah, that was the relationship, right? There is a direct relationship here. Here's where it gets confusing. What's my relationship on the other side? If I still use P or W for my number of weeks, how do I find the amount of paper on the intermediate school?
200 W.
That's interesting. Where did you come up with that?
Oh, it's the same, except it's just extra 300 because
Okay, well, let's try it. So if W is 1, 200 times 1 is 200 plus 300 is
It was
500. If it's 2, 200 times 2 is 400 plus 300 is 700. If it's 3, 200 times 3 is 600 plus 300 is 900. Looks good. Well done.
she got that really quick.
She did. That I actually honestly expected that to go a lot longer. Well done, Lydia. You guys understand why? Okay? It's because this 300 is a one-time thing. So how do I do a one-time thing? That's addition. The 200 is happening every week. How do I do something that's repeated? Multiplication. Make sense? Okay, you following? T, how about you? Are you asleep? Okay, glad you're not asleep. Okay, Shelly and Kristen share a birthday, but Shelly is 5 years older. So make a table showing their ages in every year, beginning when Kristen was born. So what's my first entry going to be, guys?
0 and 5.
The label.
No, you
Thank you!
I did that first.
So, Sean got it. What's my labels?
Shelly and Kristen.
Good. Shelly? Does it matter which order we do them? Not really. So what's my second entry? What goes below those?
0 and 5.
So 0 and 5?
Nope. 5 and 0. I put mine in first.
Oh, yes. You got to pay attention to that. Good job. 5 and 0. My next entry would be?
6.
Then?
72.
Okay, we're going to hold there. So if Kristen is 16, how old is Shelly?
21.
Rowan?
11.
11. Everybody good on that?
No,
Wait,
I'm not.
wait, no,
That's
no.
because
No.
it says if Kristen is 16-year-old, or is 16 years old.
Then Shelly's 21.
21.
That is
Okay? Don't you guys love the fact that I'll put wrong answers up on the board? Doesn't that just seem wrong?
It's really annoying. And then I get confused and I'm like, wait, was I wrong? And then I wasn't wrong.
You're not wrong. You got great number sense, Mr. Chan. So if Kristen is K years old, how old is Shelly?
K plus 5.
How do I go from there to there? K plus 5. Okay? If Shelly is S years old, how old is Kristen? S minus 5. See why I don't like using S's as variables? They look a lot like 5s, especially if you don't write well. Okay? So if I did this one as K, this one we said is K plus 5. If we did this one as S, this one is S minus 5.
How would you know it's division? How would you know it's addition or subtraction for C and G? Is it because their names are spelled?
When you start with
Yes,
oh,
because I'm looking at the table from the other perspective. Hence the inverse operations we've been talking about since the start of class. Make sense? Good. Okay, turn the page. Good news, here's your first set of homework. So for all of you that were all stressed out about having 5 pages of homework, here's the good news. Guys, it's tables. You can see most of these pages are filled up with tables. There's really not that much to do. I'm sorry? Oh, I'll do all of them for you come Wednesday and show you what they look like. Of course, at that point, it'll be too late for you to get credit for it. But yeah, I'll do them all for you. Oh, absolutely. I'm really good with math. So our first one, we're just comparing these two. Don't forget the part B's on these guys. Make sure you answer all of them. Oh, we finally asked it right. This one, I don't know why. Number 2 tends to be the one that causes the most issue. So just be careful on that one. I think it's because they collect 2 new fossils each day. So you got to remember, on day 1, not only do I have what they went before, but I've also added on the first day what they found that day. Okay? So it's your first entry. I'll give you a hint. Your first entry is not 25 and 16, unless you start at day 0, but you should start at day 1. Okay? This one's relatively easy. You do have to think about it. Part 4 is super easy. Literally all you're doing is filling in the table. And 5 is not too bad. 6 is pretty easy. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. So, as David is already trying to point out, we are 12 minutes left in class, and we're now on slide 10 of 17. Whoops.
Are those homework pages?
You can read it. It's right here. It says 10 of 17.
no. Is it vacancy?
I mean, I'd rather stay here than go to ELA.
We got that on tape. That's good. What I'm saying, guys, please be quiet because we're going to have to run through this pretty quick. So the farmer's selling bags of apples. In every bag, there are 3 apples. So let's complete the table. So for 1 bag, there's 3 apples. For 2 bags, there would be 6. For 3, there would be 9. For 4, 12. For B, there are...
B times 3.
So B times 3, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Wait, no, 3 times B.
That is a half off, half credit answer, because we always put the coefficient before the variable. Right? Oh, speaking of which, we need to hand back the quizzes, too. Okay, what does the market have? 25 bags of apples to sell. How many apples is that in all?
75.
How did you get that?
I multiplied by 3.
Good. He just used our relationship. A truck arrived that had some number A more apples on it. Then how many bags would the clerk use to bag up the apples?
A divided by 3.
How did you get that?
Well, that's just the equation. Because, well, for every 3 apples, there is 1 bag. And so you need to divide the amount of apples by 3.
Okay. Does it matter which way I write it as a fraction or using the division symbol?
No.
No, but if the directions say to do both, do I have to do both?
Yes.
Question number 2 on your quiz. Ironic how many people did not see it said to do both. If a truck arrived had 600 apples on it, how many bags would be needed? How did you get that? Good. So, how is part D different from part B? What is the relationship?
Division and multiplication.
What do we call those?
Inverse operations.
They are inverse operations. What?
There's no time for formality in that.
There is time for formality, but that's not a property. It's just a relationship. Okay, New York State, there's a 5-cent deposit on all carbonated beverages. When you get an empty bottle can returned, you get 5 cents back. Complete our table. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to do that. Complete the table. Okay. On this one, unfortunately, we're out of time to have you guys walk through it, so I will save you the pain. 5/10, or 500ths, 1/10, 1500ths, 2/10.
What page is that?
This is page 1, the one you should be on, 91. 50 is going to give you $2.50. 100 is going to give you $5. And my relationship is
C times 0.05.
or 5/10 times C, because we don't ever put our coefficient after the variable.
Or 6.05.
Okay? The next ones, C represents the number of cans. What do I get? 500ths times C. So find out how much you would get for 222 cans. Good job. And how many cans for 450? 90. Difference? Inverse operations. It's so much fun. It just keeps life interesting. Okay, guys, turn real quickly. Page 94. 94. Most of these are relatively easy. Realize we're doing multiplication and division, so all of your expressions are going to have those. There are going to be a couple of decimals / fractions, but overall, you only got 5 problems. Have a great night.